Ladies and gentlemen, referee John McCarthy has called a stop to this contest at 3 minutes, 4 seconds of round number 2, declaring the winner by knockout, the notorious Conor McGregor!
If you are looking forward to the Dustin Poirier vs Conor McGregor fight, then be sure to show this by smashing the like button. Thank you for joining me once again, and welcome back to Keating KTV. In today's video, let us go over the 10 reasons why Conor McGregor can defeat the Diamond Dustin Poirier. I have already made a video talking about the reasons why Dustin can win, so be sure to check that one out with the link in the description below. And to not miss on future uploads, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel with the bell notification turned on so you can stay on top of everything. And now with that being said, let's jump right into the video. The first reason comes as no surprise, as Conor McGregor looks to be as motivated as ever to reclaim his throne at the top of the MMA world. After a pretty stale 2020 where he only fought once and a inactive 2019, Conor McGregor has to come back better than ever before and really put a stamp on Dustin Poirier and resume his power position in the UFC. With another loss, Conor McGregor is very close to being obscure and just a has-been of what he really was as a top dog of the UFC. He will surely remain the biggest name in the MMA game. However, it is a game about what have you done for me lately, and if you lately have not won, then credibility and relevancy will slip through your fingers, and that is something Conor McGregor does not want in the slightest. And looking at the fact that he took his entire training camp with him to Portugal is a great indicator of how really seriously he is taking this. Speaking of training camps, in comes reason number 2. Conor McGregor has been heavily in training camp all throughout the year of 2020. Obviously, he really wanted to go in there and have a fight season, hoping that he would have gotten a minimum of 3 fights. That was not on the yearbooks, however, so Conor McGregor just stayed motivated and stayed in training camp and stayed training. And if we can take Conor McGregor's word for it, he says that he's even better than what he was at UFC 205 and when he fought Donald Cowboy Cerrone, which is very promising when he's saying this. Moving over to reason number 3 is, with Conor McGregor returning to the 155-pound division, he will be fighting opponents who are not as heavy as the opponents over at 170. Obviously, Conor McGregor has only really fought lightweights at welterweight, but you can't really take away from the fact that when these bigger guys come in heavier, they are able to absorb a lot more damage and they are not suffering from a weight cut only 24 hours before the fight. And with that element taken away from a fighter, they will come in as strong as they can ever be. However, taking those lightweights and putting them in a 155-pound competition where they do have to cut weight, they will have to go through that cutting weight phase and they will not be as strong and as bulky as they could have been at 170, which will only help Conor McGregor with knocking the opponent out and having his power weigh through a lot more. Even though with Conor McGregor moving up also to the 170-pound division, he is naturally becoming stronger as well. However, power has never been an issue for Conor McGregor, so by taking the opponent a bit down and fighting them where they are less cushioned will also be a benefit to Conor. Moving over to another benefit for Conor McGregor, here comes reason number 4, which is being faster. Conor McGregor at 170 pounds is obviously carrying a little bit more weight on him. He's a little bit more stockier, he's a little bit more heavier, and by being lighter, he's not only going to be faster with his hands, faster with his upper body movement, but he's also going to be faster with his footwork. Bouncing around a lot lighter will help Conor McGregor retain a lot of his mobility. By moving up to a heavier weight class, Conor McGregor really can't afford to be bouncy all the time, as it was shown in the first Nate Diaz fight where he came out bouncy with the capoeira kicks and he was throwing a lot of punches. Even though Nate Diaz was able to absorb a lot of that punishment and make Conor McGregor punch himself out, the reality still stands that being that active with your mobility will make your energy suffer. Another benefit will come in with reason number 5, which is better cardio. By being as shredded as he can be and being as lean as he can be and as light as he can be, McGregor won't need to worry about being patient and effective as much, because with that lighter frame, thinner frame, McGregor's body won't need as much oxygen to oxygenate itself, so Conor McGregor doesn't really need to be taking a lot of deep breaths like he was at his rematch with Nate Diaz. Even though he has grown into a bigger frame and stronger weight naturally, he is obviously right now a way better 170er than what he was against Nate Diaz, that is for sure. However, bringing that down a little bit more and being a lot more fitter, slimmer, trimmer, that will be a great benefit to his cardio as well. And with Conor McGregor going in there against a fighter who is not as durable as Nate Diaz, that should help him a lot as well. Reason number 6 is his improved boxing. Ever since his first fight with Dustin Poirier, in which he displayed a beautiful amount of sharpness and awareness with his kicks also, Conor McGregor has added so much to his arsenal since that fight from what we have seen in the octagon alone. For example, in his fights against Eddie Alvarez, Nate Diaz, Chad Mendes, all of these fights alone that we witnessed was just a great display of how much better his boxing has gotten from that time. His shots have become a lot more round, a lot more uppercuts are available now, a lot more slip counters, overhands. These shots are now in the arsenal of Conor McGregor, and he has mastered that. But that was in the era of 2016. From that point on, he has moved up and stepped up to face the best boxer of our generation of Floyd Mayweather Jr. The training camp alone has been a great benefit to him, and with the experience with Floyd Mayweather in the ring, Conor McGregor alone has just learned a tremendous amount just in that fight alone. Moving past that, he has corrected a lot of his mistakes, and he has also added a lot of inside work to his training camp. From all of the footage that I have seen, McGregor looks to be very strong with his lead right hand hook. Tremendous amount of body work. Has gotten very good on the inside as well, as we have seen against Donald Cerrone in that pocket where he was landing those elbows and really staying active. It just shows a lot more character in the close range as well, and I'm really looking forward to see how much Conor McGregor has added to his boxing game as well. Reason number 7 is leg kicking. McGregor has shown that he has a great variety of attacks to the legs as well, but those attacks really came against orthodox fighters where he mainly relied on oblique kicks and side kicks to the knee, for example, against Max Holloway. However, when he's facing a fellow southpaw and the stances are being crossed, that opens up the regular Muay Thai type leg kick to the front leg of the opponent, since now it doesn't have to travel a great amount of range just to hit that leg. An orthodox versus southpaw doesn't really get this opportunity that much, and with Dustin Poirier being a southpaw as well, this will open up the leg kicking game of Conor McGregor also, which I'm looking forward to see whether or not he will implement come fight night. Something that Conor McGregor hasn't really implemented much in this training camp comes with reason number 8, mental warfare. Even though Conor McGregor at this point of his career doesn't really need to rely much on trash talking to build his fights up anymore, or even try to get at the opponent anymore, with Dustin Poirier, he has already really done the worst that he could do. Break him down mentally and then break him down in the octagon. There is really nothing more than what Conor McGregor can add to what he's already done, and with that, he only really has to focus on going in there and putting that reminder back in Dustin Poirier and remind him of how dangerous Conor McGregor can be. And as soon as the fight starts off and Conor McGregor comes right back at him and the first flush punch connects, if it can trigger Dustin Poirier to panic and think of the first fight, that will really be beneficial for Conor McGregor, as that will freeze up Dustin Poirier and that will create an opening for Conor McGregor. Number 9, being a fast starter. Conor McGregor is a fighter who just comes out of the gate immediately, and he's not the type of fighter to go in there and touch gloves. He just wants to go in there and scrap it out. And that is why Conor McGregor has had so many quick knockout finishes, because he is able to catch these opponents cold, and when the reactions are a bit stiff and unwary, that is when the opponent is a little bit more reactive and just a lot more committed to the bait. And that is when Conor McGregor catches these guys. And going into a fight with Dustin Poirier, who is not a fast starter, I believe that also will be beneficial for Conor, as he can immediately come forward, take the center of the octagon, pressure Dustin, back him up, and put him on defense mode immediately. And the likelihood of Conor McGregor knocking out Dustin in the early part of the fight is just a lot more convincing to me personally, because Dustin will be cold, essentially reactive. He won't have a good read on Conor and what he likes to do. He might take the bait immediately. You never know these things, and that is why early finishes happen so often, because the guys are just so super reactive to everything. And with Dustin, having fought Conor McGregor for the first time already, I am unsure how he will be coping with the moment. Will he be familiar with the situation and be relaxed, or will he be even more tensed up to make sure that it will not happen again? I am unsure what type of a Dustin will show up in the early part of the fight, but Dustin has shown that he can really go and blossom later throughout the entire fight, but assuming the fight even gets there is a big if. And reason number 10 ties in with that. Dustin Poirier is a great bloomer in a fight. He gets better with each round, given the fact that he's winning. Going into a fight with, for example, Max Holloway, you could see that with each round, Dustin Poirier was getting more and more comfortable with his combinations, more creative, creating more openings, and he was just getting more and more dominant in the fight. But that is the thing with Dustin Poirier. He's a big combination fighter. He doesn't really carry the power of a big left that can spark anybody out. If I'm not mistaken, Dustin Poirier is not a natural southpaw but a trained southpaw, meaning his strongest hand is the right hand, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but you can't wind up your lead hand as much as your backhand, and if your backhand is the weak hand, the strongest punch of that weak hand won't be even as powerful compared to a natural southpaw like Conor McGregor. And that is exactly what Conor is. He's kind of his opposite. Conor is a single hit fighter. He intercepts, he is sharp, he doesn't really like to wind up on stuff. He comes forward where Dustin Poirier likes to take his middle of the octagon approach, perhaps even on the back foot. Conor likes to kick, Dustin doesn't. Conor is a great counterpuncher, Dustin Poirier is not compared to him. And so we are left with this big style clash between Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier. You know, Conor is this big flash, he's like lightning, and Dustin Poirier is kind of like a storm that builds up. Now, with Dustin Poirier not being able to carry that much power in his hands, I do believe that Conor McGregor will not be as intimidated, and as a result, I believe Conor will just walk him down once again. And with McGregor having great kicks in his arsenal as well, I think that he can maximize the range and just keep Dustin Poirier at bay where he can't really utilize his boxing much. Perhaps Conor McGregor will not utilize a lot of kicking. This can be attributed to the fact that Poirier will be able to kick the legs as well, and just kick the legs under from Conor McGregor, which will take away the kicking game from Conor like he kind of did in the early fight, in the first fight. Or it can also come down to the fact that Conor McGregor just wants to show a little bit more of his boxing. That can be also attributed to whatever may happen come fight night. But I do believe that Conor McGregor, his biggest success will come at the range where he's pressuring Dustin and he's kind of out of range, and he can just pop shot him, make him frustrated, and then go in there and land the big finishing blow. That is how I see Conor McGregor being able to win this fight. However, these were only the 10 reasons why Conor McGregor will be able to defeat the Diamond Dustin Poirier. As I always say, in the end, only time will tell what will truly happen. As always, I have been Keenan from Keenan KTV, signing off. Later.